My name is Marcia Howard. I am a teacher in a Southside high school, have been for 23 years. I've lived Southside Minneapolis for 23 years. And I normally show up in one place, and that's George Floyd Square, where George Floyd was lynched 20 months ago. And we've been there ever since. It's one of the longest running occupations, political occupations in American history. But I'm here today because the residents, the community banded together to file an ethics complaint against the mayor of Minneapolis for the lynching of Amir Locke, for the malfeasance and misrepresentation after the fact, let alone the fact that he is in charge of what happened. And what has happened is nothing less than a lynching.
Why was this necessary?
It's necessary because we've tried it every other way. We kneel, they got a problem with it. We stand, they try to oust us. We run the street and they call us hooligans. We've done it all sorts of ways, and now the city of Minneapolis will be hoisted by their own petard. So we're going to go procedurally, because when reading those statutes, there is no question that he has violated the ethics of Minnesota, of Minneapolis. He's in the wrong, and somebody needs to hold this man accountable. And they need to hold the city of Minneapolis accountable as well. If we do not do this at a systemic level, more and more Black, brown, and indigenous people will be rousted from their sleep and killed callously under the pretext of we're pursuing justice, we're looking for a suspect. I love this city. I am a transplant. I moved here like 30 years ago, and I'm from Arkansas, and I know a lynching when I see one. We need change, and we're going to do it in all sorts of ways. This is Black History Month, but it's a sea change. What we are doing as Black folks and brown folks and white folks and Asian folks, Latinx folks, indigenous folks, we standing together right now. We're saying no more. And we've been saying no more for 20 months. No, honestly, we've been saying no more since Jamar Clark. And they hard-headed. They don't get it. So we're going to do multiple modalities of lessons. We're doing it in legislature, and we're doing it on the street. Everybody in this city that is comfortable with what happened to Amir Locke while he had 9 seconds to live. As a Black person, I've always been keenly aware that I'm not an individual. It could have been any Black person under that cover. Y'all know it. Everybody know it. It could have been anybody. So I am my brother's keeper. We are each other's business. We are each other's magnitude and bond. So all of us have to band together to say no more. Because I'm telling you, Minneapolis, Minnesota used to be known for Prince and Minnesota nice. And now we're the byword for police brutality across the globe. Across the globe. It's humiliating, let alone terrifying. How could I, as a Black person, move to a city where my own nephew isn't comfortable? I sent him back to Arkansas. It's not safe for us. It's not safe if you can get rousted from your sleep and 9 seconds later be killed in a summary execution with, so far, impunity. And while we're asking people in City Hall, we're asking Ellison to consider charge. We asking anybody who's listening. You say this ain't us, then prove it. We demand change. We demand it here at City Hall. We demand it at the government center. We demand it in the governor's office. We demand it on 38th in Chicago. And I'm telling you right now, wherever somebody is comfortable, it's going to be 38 in Chicago. Floyd Town will come to your town. Nobody should be sleeping comfortably, because Amir didn't. Amir didn't. Haven't slept all week. Haven't slept all week. Haven't slept all week. I've been outside for 20 months, and they can't stop killing us. I teach high school and I have to stare at 28 people's children over and over and over again. And they ain't safe in the city of Minneapolis. They ain't safe. They ain't safe. Your kids ain't safe here. We're not safe. We're not safe. Not safe. We're not safe. We're not safe. We're not. And I can't sit there and lie to them and act like we are. So much of my actual job is breathing hope. That's what inspire means. To breathe hope into, to breathe life into. And every time we turn around is death. Is death. And we're supposed to excuse it. And you see people getting gold medals in Olympic gymnastics of the mentality that if I'm related to somebody who done something wrong, well, too bad. That's what you get. We are each other's keeper because I'm not an individual. We're not individuals because they could have killed any black person. They didn't care. It was a lynching, plain and simple. A lynching. That no-knock warrant was a lynch mob that snuck in. If it wasn't a burning cross outside, it didn't make a difference. It was a lynching. And I dare anybody to disagree with me. They lynched that boy. They lynched him.
Yes, they did. Lynching.
And no justice, no peace, no peace,
No peace.
no peace, no peace.
Anything else that you think is important for people, especially I think this is a different process, you know, that at least from my vantage point in covering the different protests and organizations and actions that have happened, I feel like this is a different strategy. And some people don't quite understand what it means or why it's significant. Could you share for people who are unfamiliar with like what an ethics complaint is and what should happen now that 1,250 and
counting, and counting. An ethics violation is when they look at the statutes of what you were supposed to be doing in your position and they see that you are in pure violation of that and you get censured and your job should be in jeopardy. Now, I'll say there was a city council member who tried to hold Arredondo and Jacob Frey accountable, and then they did some internal discipline and he got thrown out. I need his name to be sullied. A week after a Vogue Puff piece, it needs to be on record that he done wrong. He has done wrong. He has to be held accountable. Now, Trump was impeached, and although he stayed in office, it was very, very clear that his record would be forever sullied by the impeachment process. So like I said, they're going to be hoisted on their own petard. So, they want to talk procedure and police policy, not just about Amir Locke. Even the federal trial for the killers of George Floyd has been boiled down to training and policy and procedural oversight. So they want to mire it in the muck of language and statutes. Well, guess what? You can get tangled up and trip in that too. All we got to do is lay it down, which is what we are doing. It was over 1,200 signatures within the first 12 hours. Give us some time. The city will call him out by name, and we will demand accountability for our mayor of this city. Jacob Frey must be held accountable. And if he is the person that so many people in the city of Minneapolis voted for, nobody got to drag him out of the house to do that. He will step up and willingly take that accountability. He is in the minds of a lot of people, walking up and crying, weeping over the body of George Floyd at a funeral. I'm going to need the same kind of energy about Amir Locke. I'm going to need that same energy. You feel bad? Feel bad. Because the no-knock warrant And the fact that our police willy-nilly use it when they can't be trusted, time and time again, they've shown they cannot be trusted. Yeah, somebody's going to be held accountable. And you heard the name that was being said. So that's why the people, the residents of the city of Minneapolis are here, and we're not stopping here. Anywhere in this city that people are comfortable, prepare to be uncomfortable. And I mean that shit.
I just have two more questions for you. You talked about how MPD can't be trusted. And as a journalist, one of the things that I challenge my fellow media colleagues to think about is how many more lies do they have to tell before the media stops using them as a credible source. Could you speak to the role that media plays, especially in the aftermath of these police killings, and what can they do? That's something that, as I'm challenging the media system, right, to create more equitable outcomes with the narratives they publish, one thing they always throw back at me is like, well, what should we do? Do you have any recommendations? Anything that you could say to local media outlets who continue to regurgitate these police narratives despite the fact that they have a history of lying on the record?
Now, I could speak to it. I could say something to the Star Tribunes and their ilk of commercial media. But we all know why they take the word of the police at first blush. Because it's a reciprocal relationship. There's a symbiotic relationship between our local media and our local police, where they carry water for police, and it's within the first 48 hours, whatever the police put out is what goes, even if it is a flagrant lie. And neither our outfits that have obviously learned ethics from J School, neither those outfits hold themselves accountable to the truth, for upholding the truth that we as citizens need to be fully informed. What they do in order to preserve their little place in power and access, they carry water for the MPD. And this time, it was so egregious. Instead of saying Amir Locke was not a suspect, they showed a picture of a brown gun. They couldn't show the picture of his brown body that was riddled with bullets. So they showed a gun, and that was a placeholder for the man, because a black man is considered armed and dangerous, even if he is naked. So they showed the gun. They knew what they were doing. There's a headline that said, oh, a teen is arrested in the homicide that prompted the no-knock warrant, and Locke's death. They knew what they were doing. I teach English half for 23 years. That comma, where you connected the arrest of a teen for a murder and Locke's death, when we all know it was the MPD intent on a lynching, is what killed Amir Locke. They did not care who was under that blanket. They killed who was ever in that blanket that showed that brown hand and a gun. And by the way, anybody who had reviewed that footage, and there are people who talked about that footage, did a press junket about that footage. If you had seen the footage before the public did, then you saw that Amir Locke had better trigger discipline than the MPD. As an American who had a legal concealed carry, who did not have his hand on the trigger, it was visible, it was known. Star Tribune knew that. You can't convince me that they didn't. But they ran with the story. They ran with the story anyway. They cannot be trusted. They cannot. So anybody that's worth their salt, anybody who's going to be in the truth-telling business, y'all need to understand that you're going to come on one side of history or the other. And right now, you need to decide what side. Choose your weapon. And I choose truth. And I choose my people. And I choose my neighbors. And I choose the city of Minneapolis. I honestly believe with the work that we continue to do at 38th and Chicago, Minneapolis will one day be the byword for a city getting it right. But right now, we have roadblocks that's bigger than any barricade we ever put up on 38th and Chicago. And those roadblocks are elected officials who choose to side with a militarized police force that is hell-bent on destroying black bodies. Whatever we did to be the enemy of the city of Minneapolis, as a black person, I'm telling you right now, you better stand down, because there's only so much that we're going to take. There's only so much that we're going to take. Only so much. And right now, when history looks at us in those sepia-toned books, when there's an endowed chair of Minneapolis 2019 to 2024, we ain't looking good. There's going to be an endowed chair in somebody's Ivy League school where they study this city. And we ain't looking good. We not. We're going to be whispered in the same breath as Faubus and Wallace and the Klan. That's what we doing right now. I have people inboxing me from all over the world saying, what's wrong with Minneapolis? It's so humiliating. And I war between the pain that I feel as a black person and the humiliation that I feel as a Minneapolis resident. We got to get right. We hard-headed in Minneapolis, but y'all gonna learn. Y'all gonna learn.
The last question I have for you is about the vote no, vote yes ballot question in November that Arredondo campaigned on. He influenced a lot of people to vote no. And what I heard from some folks who were very vocal about voting no and trying to influence other people to vote no was they were betting on him more than they were betting on no. And so then for him to resign within like 60 days, it felt, some people, Minneapolis residents, have told me they felt bamboozled, they felt led astray, they felt misled, they felt lied to, even within that. And reflecting back, like, because I'm getting those same inboxes, like, what's going on? And it's like, well, we had some semblance of potential change with this system of public safety that could have been built out to, maybe be something better than what we have. I don't know. But like trying to make sense of it, I can't help but point to that also being significant to how we're here now, right? And so I don't know if you're connecting the dots the same way I'm connecting the dots, but I just would really love your perspective on making sense of the vote no, vote yes, Arredondo's influence over it, but then leaving, and then now us being here.
With the vote no, vote yes, and people's opinion on the 3 votes and which way they should go, you need to understand millions poured into the city of Minneapolis from outside that influenced the campaigns that were being run throughout each corner of this city. And so even Arredondo, if people were following the code of personality, they should have checked the record, because his butt was trying to get out of here months before. He was interviewing. The rat with the sinking ship, y'all should have known. So I don't believe folks that said, oh, I thought Arredondo was going to stick and stay. He been out. He been out. And if it were about the code of personality, then we need to hold people accountable for something that is very, I believe, unique to the Midwest, something I've learned about. People in the Midwest tend to vote with the devil they know. Even if they disagree with that person, even if they call that person out their name, there seems to be this sort of ownership with that person. So at least that's somebody that I know is a known quantity. If I go and shift in a different direction, then I'm going to be held accountable, because then I am so closely related to that recent vote. And so what people said out loud versus what they did in the ballot box is very much akin to what happened for the Trump election. What they said versus what they did. So when I'm talking to the city of Minneapolis, if you think I'm just talking to Mayor Frey, I am not. I'm talking to my neighbors. I'm talking to the people in neighborhoods, Tangletown. I'm talking to people in Longfellow. I'm talking to people by Lake Nokomis and Lake of the Isles. I'm saying we got to get right, unless you're very comfortable with us being summarily executed with impunity. And I'm telling you right now, if my people got to be on our knees for you to feel tall, you need to check yourself. You need to check yourself. Because I came over here for lakes and loons and Lutheran hospitality. I didn't come here for a lynching. I didn't come here for a lynching. This is my home, and I want to be safe. And if I don't feel safe, nobody should feel safe. Nobody.
Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think is important? Anything you haven't said that you want people to know that's important to you, or that's significant to what's going on in the city of Minneapolis right now?
How many? How many of us got to die? How many are you comfortable with? I'd like a number. I'd like a hard number. How many? How many? Because I'm tired. And now I'm angry. Wasn't before, but I am now. And I'm not the only one. No justice, no street, no justice, no peace, no justice, no justice, no justice in the city of Minneapolis until we make it so. Because only we can do this. Only we can change this system. Read the demands of George Floyd Square. bit.ly/George Floyd Square -A all _. Look at what we're trying to implement in our 4 corners of the world, just 4 square blocks for a neighborhood that had been beleaguered by the 3rd precinct year after year. I looked at Amir and I thought of every student that I've lost to these Minneapolis streets. And I'm telling you right now, the campaign that's going on, including but not limited to the double shooting yesterday that conveniently happened at bus stops at 12 and 2, and no known suspects for either one of them. This idea that we're so feral and savage that we are not worth avenging, that we need to be hard-pressed by local police forces in order to quell our own savage natures. Y'all thought that was just a coincidence? And I'm telling you, when I say stop killing us, I mean stop killing us. And when I say Black Lives Matter, I mean my life and my son's life and my daughter's life and my husband's life and all the lives of black folk. Any potentiality of black life and brown life and indigenous life. I don't have a son, I don't have a black husband, But it doesn't matter, because when they kill us, they're not killing an individual. They're killing us. They're killing us. And it's almost this religious consecration. Our blood on the street in order to uphold white supremacy. They got to do it. It's ritualistic at this point. And I'm telling you, y'all need to change your religion. Really, really do. Because this worshiping of status quo, where black folks just get executed like cur dogs in the street. You really think we're going to just keep taking this? Really? Really? Okay. Thank you.
And I appreciate your continued commitment to our community and to George Floyd Square.
And I commend you for your continued truth-telling and truth-seeking. I don't think it's too much to ask, but it's commendable that you continue to do that. I would hope that your colleagues would do that as well. And if they don't, I hope their peers call them out, because they are complicit in this narrative that, oh no, things are just hunky-dory. This is just, a mistake, a procedural slip-up, when there is an actual dead person who did not need to die. And if his life matters, then everybody that was part and parcel of selling the story the first 48 hours ought to be shaming themselves. They ought to be shamed and held accountable. Thank you.
Would you like to say a few words?
We listen to black women.
That's right. That's right. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will continue following developments surrounding the fight for justice for Amir Locke. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon. Again, if you kind of missed out at the beginning of the live stream, I'm at City Hall where there was an action held today for Minneapolis residents to file complaints against the mayor. Live from Minneapolis, I'm Georgia Ford.